got a question.
I've never been over here.
We like her out. We'll start with Travis Brown right here in front, and we'll go to Rob.
Hey, Coach. A lot of new faces on the team. How have you kind of seen the team progress? What's your overall feel of what you got on the roster this year?
Completely different. A lot of brand new guys, brand new staff, brand new players. It's been a lot of fun. We practiced this past weekend. Had a very productive September as far as what we typically do. It was good to be able to be in the gym. All of the guys have done great relative to what we're asking them to do. We practiced Friday, practiced Saturday, had officials yesterday for the first time. I was been watching that this morning, but yeah, it's been exciting. They've been good. We have a long way to go, but we have October planned out, and hopefully we can kind of stay in a groove like we had in September.
Does it feel like a little bit kind of like season one all over again with how many new guys need to get into the philosophy and the
Yeah,
system?
I don't know exactly how I should answer that, but it does feel like a reset.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of that, Travis, is probably just my personal thoughts on all that has transpired since the last time we had a press conference, where if we could actually have one. It's just been so much that's transpired. Some of it good, but a lot of it bad. And some of the bad was out of our control. And so I do feel like it's just a reset. I understand I won't be judged according to the reset, and I'm accountable to that. But yeah, I feel the energy of what we're doing is year one-esque. More new players, changing a little bit of what we're trying to do on both sides of the ball relative to our personnel, even how all of these guys got here. You know, the first time I ever met any of them face to face was when they moved here for summer school. All of that is unique and historical in that it's never happened. And so, yeah, I do agree with your question. I think that's how we're coaching. I think that's how they're responding. I think that's the intensity at which they're working. There is pureness in the energy. Everything is kind of new as far as what we're teaching. What they're doing is new. Every day has that spirit of newness, which has been fun and good.
Let's go to the middle left, Rob Havens from Magdalene Illustrated.
Howdy, Coach.
Yes, sir.
So when you got here, obviously you hadn't recruited that group of players, and you basically have to do your coaching style based on the talent that you had. But now you're flipping over. You've got a whole new. As you see how they play, are you still kind of trying to develop which way you're going to coach and which way you're going to play this year?
There's a little bit of all of that. I don't know that there's much carryover from year one to what's about to be year three. We utilized the summer. Of course, there wasn't a summer last summer. And then summer one was when we were going to Costa Rica, which makes that summer unique. And I think the staff did a really good job of kind of orchestrating how we went about our summer work and what we're allowed to do. And I think that allowed us maybe to get a little bit of traction on the direction we need to go in offensively based on our personnel. Every player that we signed that's new, all of the evaluation was off of the screen. And I'm not very good at that. Our staff is much better than I am. And so we use the hours in the summer to be able to see and assess what they are. And so I think we're a little ahead today in comparison to year one on how we want to play, just because of how we occupied the hours in the summer. Similar to what I said to Travis, I think that we're a little different in what we're trying to accomplish defensively. For sure different in what we're trying to do offensively, and those decisions were based on our personnel. And I think that's the way you want it. I don't think it needs to be based on how you would like to coach. It needs to be based on putting those guys in the best position they can be in.
Let's go back behind the lights, TV row. We'll start with Mike Lucas from KX.
Mike, what's up?
How you doing,
You
Coach?
still in the media?
Trying. Shocking, I know. Coach, when you have so many new faces on the roster, how important is it to have a guy like Dre back who's been through the fire with you for 2 years to kind of maybe be a leader for some of the new guys who don't know what they're getting?
We talked on Friday before we had our first real practice, and similar to the previous question, Zach Walker was here, Everett Vaughn was here, Dre was here, Q was here in summer one of year one. Nobody else. And then the 2020 class, Haas, H, all of those guys, they didn't arrive until the third week of September last year. Normally that's Memorial Day. And so relative to the reset, some of the reset is just based on everybody's kind of at a different point in what they know relative to what we do on the floor, what we do off the floor. And so through 4 practices, I do think that Dre, Q specifically, Zach and EV as well, at least they've heard remnants of what we're saying. Some of those other guys, most of those other guys are hearing it for the very first time, period. And so I think that's will be the biggest adjustment that I have to make, is not assuming that they know because 3 guys remember, because it's almost brand new for everybody, and making sure that what we're establishing relative to the foundation, everybody's on the same page.
Stay in the back. We'll go to Tyler from KBTX.
Coach, with the little bit you've seen so far, what are you most confident in that the strengths of this young early team will be as you get ready for the season?
I think we're fast. I think we're faster. I think we have a lot of guys that can put the ball on the floor. Hopefully a lot of those guys can get fouled and create rotation. Hopefully we can get the defense in rotation and keep them in rotation. I think we've somewhat simplified what we're trying to do defensively, and I think what they're doing, they understand. They just need many reps at it. Offensively, most coaches, I think, will always say their offense is behind their defense this early. That's true for us. I think they understand what we're trying to do, but some of the execution of it we're not great at yet. But we have more players, more talented players, faster players. That would be what after a weekend of work, what I would think you would say the major difference is relative to what it was last year.
So one down front, we'll go to Brent and Travis.
Hey,
Brent, what's up?
How you doing, man? What are your early impressions in NIL and how that impacts, college athletics and college basketball in particular?
I don't know yet. I don't know if the market, if that's the appropriate word,
Right.
I don't know if the market has been set. I think there's probably outliers. And I think the rush of NIL and what maybe we all anticipated it would be versus what it is 100 days later, I don't know. We study it a lot. We pay attention to all of it. I think we're very aware of it, wanting to do what's right by our guys, wanting to help, but there's a limit to what we can actually do. And so it's strange, I think, as a coach, Brent, because we can't be involved, but yet we need to be aware. And so I think we've done a good job educating our guys. I think compliance here has been very transparent with all of the administrators and coaches. Been to a lot of, I guess, educational pieces on it. But what is it today? And then I think the real question is what is it going to be a year from today? And is the market more true then? I guess is
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna be. But I think we're prepared whichever direction it goes. But I do think it's monumental, obviously.
And then here's something else that hasn't taken place either yet, but I'm gonna ask you about Texas and Oklahoma coming into the SEC, your just early thoughts and
You
impressions
broke
of
the
that.
story.
I did. On Mike Leach Day, man, it always should have been the day after.
When was that? In July?
July 21st.
I think-
My anniversary.
Congratulations. I think I was on the road recruiting when that happened. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I was a little delayed in finding out. And then, typical people texting and calling, what do you think? And I'm like, well, I don't even know what you're talking about. I think whether it's the NIL, whether it's whatever transpires further amidst the changes, I just think that the model of college athletics is going to be dramatically different 5 years from now than it's ever been. And I think as a coach, it's uncomfortable because so much of it you can't control. And the one thing that I've tried to communicate with our staff is we just need to get to the future first. But we really don't know what the future is. And so I think you feel as though you're trying to be prepared for whatever direction it's going to go. But is there more expansion specific to this league? I don't know. Is there going to be other expansion? Is there going to be an NCAA? What is it going to be? Is there going to be a split? Like this is Power 5 with a different name, and this is not Power 5, and they have different rules? I don't think anybody knows. And I think maybe a part of it is who does know? And I think that's probably the biggest challenge.
You're guaranteed a great crowd with the horns in town.
It will be fun. Like the first time I was here, I thought you were supposed to play them.
Right.
And then, we signed the contract to play them maybe the first week that I was here when we played them in Fort Worth. I just don't know. Like, is every other league gonna stand pat? With those teams from the American going to the Big 12, is it still the Big 12? Who's the American gonna pull? Is the Mountain West gonna stay what it is? Is the American gonna pull from the Sun Belt to Conference USA, or is more Texas A&M Commerce gonna turn Division I and play in the Southland? Like, I think there's still some shifting that's gonna take place. That's just my opinion. You probably know more than I do.
Travis Brown right here in front, and then Olin.
When you look at some of these changes and the uncertainty and some of these things that you talk about, especially when you look at NIL and player branding, how much do you feel like you kind of got it right when 10 years ago you hire a guy like Josh, and when you are having to make some of these guesses, is it kind of shaping out how maybe you foresaw it coming?
Thanks for what you said. I do think Josh has been pivotal. And I actually thought that Josh was pivotal when we hired him. Not that I would have necessarily called it NIL, but you could sense the change. You remember Maryland and Rutgers going to the Big Ten. You remember Syracuse leaving the Big East, going to the ACC. Like, you could kind of sense where that was going. The branding, the importance of social media, and how that has become such an influence in recruiting. And so I'm not saying that I have the answers, and I'm for sure not saying I have the answers now. But that shift that was occurring 7 to 8 years ago, when Fox Sports is overpaying for inventory, and now you see some of what has changed with some of the major networks. Notre Dame's playing football on your phone 2 weeks ago. I think what is going to take place over the next 5 years will be a seismic shift. And the one thing, to both of your questions, I have just been as transparent as possible with recruits, with their parents, because they're looking for answers too. And there's really not, this is the path. We're starting a new road, and nobody knows which direction that road is going. And so you just, because you don't know the answers, you just try to do the best you can with your staff to stay on top of it. Like I read everything. I read athleticdirectoru.com. I have one of our managers, there's 8 or 10 things that he prints out every day. I have another manager, he's doing different things, because I don't think anybody has an idea where it's going. But, you know, all of our guys have their own logo now. That's Josh, that's not me. I'm not near, I don't have any creativity in my brain. But I do think it's important. And I think that, you know, the presentation of how does NIL work, there at least has to be a framework. And Josh specifically has led that with our staff.
And then when we talk about a reset for y'all, does it feel like, it's getting a little ahead, but when you're scouting everyone across the country, especially the SEC, it seems like the whole thing is a reset. The whole season's new with that one-time transfer.
Yeah, and so I know we need to be concerned with Alabama this week, but like on that question, it makes you think, how do you need to spend your scholarships? When do you need to spend your scholarships? You get a certain number of recruiting days. If I leave campus today to go recruit, that's 1. If Coach Devin goes with me, that's 2. How do we need to spend our recruiting days? Because we signed all of our guys off of Zoom in the initial one-time transfer rule. Well, 29% of Power 5 players transferred. 45% of what you and I would call mid-major players transferred. So now it's almost like, in the same way we hired Josh several years ago, it's almost like there's going to be a new position, player personnel director, because you don't just need to know SEC opponents anymore. You need to be studying every player in Division I, not just high school kids, not just junior college kids, because you're going to have to make decisions on all of them. And I'm not saying that we're handling it right. It's not being conservative. It's not being risky. It's trying to put together the pieces, but you don't really know who's going to be on your team next year. And so you kind of have to be thoughtful. And I think it'll all, just like everything else in life, it will always come down to relationships. And are those relationships built on trust? Are those relationships built on love? And if they are, then you can make decisions from that. But if they're shaky, then it's probably not going to work.
Got time for one more question. We're going to Owen Buchanan.
Hi, Buzz.
Oh,
How you doing? I just wanted
still work for Lucci?
Still working, man.
What do you think about his hair?
Hey, he's my boss. It looks great.
Perfect
I think
answer.
you should do that.
If I could, I promise you I would. I love it.
I just wanted to ask, you said you felt like you have a fast roster, and I know you have been around your guys a lot. I just wonder if you've got a sense of whether or not you, in your opinion, have a better shooting roster.
Yeah. Based on the stats from this weekend, it's arguable. But I'm hoping that part of the stats from this weekend were just the uncertainty of, am I supposed to shoot this shot? Is this the time to shoot this shot? We spent more time shooting this summer than ever before. I spent 69 hours and 17 minutes individually with each of our players in the 8 weeks that we can work. And it's called Shooting with Buzz. So we've invested the right amount of time, and we do need to be able to shoot the ball better. And I think in time we will. I just think there's still some unsureness of what we're trying to accomplish offensively, and through practices that were statted. I don't know that we have true data on if we're gonna be able to shoot the ball better or not, but we need to be able to.